All right, so we're live. Hey, everybody. My name is
Woo!
Teresa. I'm a teen artist, and this is my show, Art and Chat. I'm the host of Art and Chat. And in the show, I love connecting with amazing artists and, creating art at the same time. So, this episode, we have a special guest, Rich Armstrong, and I'm really excited to create art with him. He's a very innovative artist and designer. He's a multi-hyphenate designer and artist who teaches digital art, productivity, animation, coding, website design, and he's got so much more up his sleeve. Like if you go to his website, you're gonna learn a lot from him. So he's also the author of the Perfect 100-Day Project, and he's collaborated with renowned brands like Adobe, Ava Labs, and so much more. Um, and what I love about Rich is his artworks. He created many vibrant artworks and collections like Happy Sun, Limina, The Doodleverse, and Dreamheads, and so much more. And I love how he, reflects his bold and vibrant personality through all of his artworks. So, um, that's your introduction. Is there anything else I need to add?
No, that's great. I mean, you can introduce me every single time I'm on a stream or something. That was great.
Of
I don't know
course.
if you've ever watched A Knight's Tale, like the guy's like, Sir Elric von Liechtenstein. And the
Maybe I
crowd
should
goes
do my next
wild. I
one.
don't know. It was something like that. I felt it. Thank you.
Of course, that was fun.
Are you
Um,
going to are you going to introduce yourself now as well? Because I imagine there's going to be some people that are like, well, who are you? And why are you so young? And what's going on here? This is a really interesting setup and dynamic. And so, who are you?
all right, so I'm Teresa Melvin. I'm a teen artist. I've been in the Web3 space for around, around 3 or more years, and I've been in the art world for like ever since I was, 5, which is pretty cool. So
That,
I
that's amazing. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, I have these two characters called Ava and Ramona. So, there's my website, avaramona.art, and that's where I create artworks about my two characters, which I'm gonna be drawing about today. And yeah, that's my short intro. And there's a lot that I would like to like add throughout the interview about how our creative process is like, and our like journey into Web3. So I'm excited for everyone watching to join us to uncover your passion for education, and I would
Cool.
love to learn a lot more from you as well about the courses you're doing. And yeah.
Cool. I'm pumped.
Awesome. So, in this live, we're going to be creating an artwork live, which everyone can see from like scratch to finish. Well, I've already created a sketch and we're going to be drawing on top of that. And also, thank you so much to Remix for sponsoring this episode. They're an amazing platform. And if you want to know more about Remix, we have our Remix community pages in the description. So go check that out and stick around till the end because we have a surprise drop on the Remix platform. So you don't want to miss that. So stick around to the end to see our finished artworks and for the surprise drop. All right, I think we can get started. Um,
Awesome.
so I created this sketch before the live about Ava. So this year's Ava and this is Ramona. And I'm excited because Rich also has the same sketch and we're both going to be drawing on top of it and then like merging it at the end. So that's Rich's screen and this is mine. All right. I think we can start now.
So,
Yeah.
so
So
who's
what?
so who's Ava? The one on the left?
Oh yeah, this is Ava with the bows.
Okay.
And then Ramona is the one with like the ginger hair and the beanie. So they're kind of like my personality as well, where Ava is like more creative, but she's also more calm. And then Ramona is kind of like the more bold, confident one. So yeah, that's why I love these two characters.
When did you start drawing them? I mean, like, what prompted you to have two characters that are slightly different, and were you inspired by anything?
Yeah, I actually created these characters when I was like, pretty young, when I was like 9 years old. First, I
Yeah.
created Ava when I was 9 years old, and then Ramona when I was 11. What inspired me to create Ava was one second, I'm just getting my brush. Okay, I wanted her to have like the personality that I had. So whenever I look at Ava, I see kind of my childhood self as well. Um,
Yeah.
People would say I'm still in my childhood, but yeah. Um,
Well, you're a teen, you're like, past childhood right now.
yeah, and Ramona, I got inspired by this character when, I first drew her. I wanted to make her, someone kind of like who I wanted to be, more bold and confident.
That's
So
awesome.
this character really inspires me about who I can be, and Ava inspires me about, like, what I already am. So that's what I love about these characters. And, I wanted to know more about you as well. How did your journey into art, design, and coding begin? Did you, like, love drawing as a kid, and could you share more about that?
Yeah, for sure. But before I do, I think that a lot of artists struggle with the idea of like, what is my art for? It's
Hmm.
like what value does it bring society? And I
Yeah.
think that like as an artist, like if your only value that you brought to society was the fact that you are like imbuing yourself with different characteristics or personality things through your art, like you're exploring who you could be or become or how you're currently feeling, like that's just like therapy right there, or coaching right there, self-coaching, self-therapy. You're exploring who you could be, like as a teenager, as a kid, man, even as an adult. Like this whole week while I've been a little bit under the weather, I've been like rethinking like my entire life,
Hmm.
um, existential crisis kind of stuff, which has been really interesting. But going back to like how I began creating and stuff, like from an early age, I've been a doodler, a drawer. Like I remember sitting at my little art table. It was white. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna try this Rorschach test. I don't know what it was at the time, but like, paint on one side, you flip it together, and
Uh-huh.
then out comes this butterfly or really cool, interesting
Yeah,
things.
I've heard
That's
about.
like my earliest memory of like me creating and being like, whoa. I think I won a coloring in competition at like age 8 or 10 or something, where I was using gradients with wax crayons, which I'd never seen anybody do. And I'm pretty sure these guys had never seen anybody do.
Hmm.
Um, I remember winning like what the equivalent of $5 in South Africa. That was a lot of money when I was 8 years old, and I was like, yeah, just really cool. But I just kept on drawing, doodling inside my geography books, my maths books, like wherever. Um, and then I remember at the end of school, my dad was like, okay, let's go have a look at where you want to go to university. I was like, okay, cool. And I walked into this one place called Vega.
Uh-huh.
And now Vega's like meant to be a star that guides people. And I was like, so the stuff on the wall here, this like really cool stuff, like people get paid to do this. And everyone was like, yep, that's illustration. Sometimes that's graphic design, sometimes it's like art direction. And I was like, whoa, like I would like to get paid to do this, like draw stuff, design stuff, like make t-shirts, do branding. This sounds amazing. So yeah, I went to a couple other places, but yeah, I fell in love with this place. The receptionist was this big black lady, and she had makeup smeared all over her face and dreadlocks, and she was just like the kindest soul ever. And I was like, yeah, this place is cool. The lecturers were walking around in Vans shoes, and I was like, wow, this is not what I expected from this place. So that's how I got into creating. And I almost failed my first half year. It was terrible because I didn't know a lot of art. I didn't know a lot of concept stuff. I went to this very traditional boys' school, boarding school, and I was like pretty much like shocked by the stuff that I didn't know and what other people knew. Like people were doing installment art, like they were making statues like in a week, and I was
That's
like, where did you learn to make a statue? Like that's mental. Like I'm just drawing like with some charcoal on a piece of paper, like thinking I'm like rocking it. But then it got into digital stuff, Flash. I absolutely rocked Flash. We went into After Effects, we went into Photoshop, Illustrator, and I was like, this is amazing. So that's how I got into more creating and the digital side of stuff. And then by the end of the year, I came top of my class, and then I finished my school, coming top of the school. Um, and did a bunch of things. I studied multimedia design, which is like I'm now a multi-hyphenate artist, and yeah, it stems all the way from there. It's just like, yeah, I draw, cool. I do graphic design, I do animating, motion graphics. I can do graphic design. I can copyright or do my own copywriting. Like everything and anything, like I'm into that. And then I was like, cool. I still don't really know how to make a website. Like Dreamweaver was just like a very basic kind of a version then.
Mhm.
So yeah, I felt it was super complex. So I did an internship at a web company inside of an advertising agency. And this guy taught me how to code. And I was like, cool. So then I started coding. And the mixture of coding plus animation plus graphic design, it was just like amazing.
That must have
And
been like super cool. You were working with all of these, mediums. Um, and I love how that all comes together in your artworks, especially when you said about how you drew as a kid. I feel like that reflects in your artworks as well, like all of your doodles. And then that mixes into the coding, the digital art. So I think that's really cool. Um, yeah, is there anything else you would like to add?
man, I just think like so many people get caught up with the idea that they have to be like they just got to do one thing. And like, at your age, like how the heck are you meant to know that this is your one thing that you're going to be doing for the rest of your life, you know? Um, and even in school, like they're like, cool, like pick your subjects. I'm like, well, I'd like to do drama and music and art, and science is pretty cool and biology is pretty cool because of all this like cool stuff that we get to experiment with. But they're like, yeah, you can't do art and drama. It's like
Oh,
impossible. Yeah, go for science. Like that's good. It'll get you into university. And so they just like ship you through the system, you know, hoping that you could become I don't know, a mathematician, scientist. Maybe that helps you get into some kind of financial stuff or law stuff. It was just like not set up well for a creative soul like me or a doodler, you know. Um,
yeah,
and
I
then
feel.
when you get out, they're like, cool, now choose what you want to do. Do you want to do art direction? Do you want to do graphic design? It's like, what about business? Like, I want to be an artist, but not like someone who just paints portraits.
Mhm.
Like, and that's it. Like, I don't want my artistry to be that narrow. It's like, well, cool. Can I work for clients? Can I have a solo exhibition? Can I, paint my own, portraits on canvas? Can I try stuff digitally? Cool. Can I do an animation now? Can I make a movie? Like, oh, also I wrote a book. Like all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. I would love more people who are younger, especially, to explore all of that, and for the education system to be like, let's give everything to everybody and just let them see, rather than making them pick before they have an idea of what it is.
Ex-
But I also think that you can change. Like if you want to change what you do or explore what you do it. That's why I wrote this perfect 100-day project. It's like over 100 days, which is not a lot of time. Like
Mhm.
you can learn a lot of stuff. You can develop a certain skill set. You can try something. You can, if it doesn't work out, it's only 100 days. And if you can't do 100 days, 30 days is also pretty good. Um, so yeah, just this like confidence and boldness to try different things. I'd love people to be more confident to try that.
That's awesome. And yeah, about I feel like in school should be where you can explore like many careers and subjects. Really explore and in art or whether it's design or dance or anything really. And I feel like, that will kind of like shape up, what you want to be in the future or, keep exploring and expand out of your comfort zone as well. Like I've actually loved art ever since I was, 5 years old. Um, Coming into the Web3 space was when I realized that I loved to, speak in like public as well. Like I was a very shy, speaker, but going into the Web3 space, getting more confidence in videos, I was able to kind of expand out of my comfort zone as well. So, you know, diving into the Web3 and NFT space. Oh, I see we have a comment. So, how was your experience seeing your work in New York billboards? Or, yeah, I went to NFT NYC as well, and that was an amazing experience because I saw my artworks on the billboard, um, and that was like a very emotional scene for me as well to see my screen, my artworks on my iPad that's like on, NFT NYC billboard. So that was an amazing experience. Um, and about, Web3 and the NFT space, I want to know more about how you got into that space as well. I saw your course about, NFTs, and I was interested what made you so interested about this, new space, and how do you think, the Web3 and NFT space are like changing the art world?
Yeah, there's a lot of questions in there, but I can imagine that, seeing your artwork in New York and Times Square is, quite emotional, especially at such a young age. But it's just like, yeah, now let's go conquer the world. And I think
Yeah.
it goes to show, like, if you put your mind to something, if you're intentional and you go after something,
Mhm.
like, you can literally do anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a super cool attitude to have. I love it. Um, yeah, I'd also like to know how you got into NFTs, but after me. So I got into NFTs just because I was doing stuff on Instagram, and the guys at, I can't remember the marketplace now, Creator Market, something like that. Not Creative
Mhm.
Market, Creator Place, something like that. They
Yeah.
were like, hey, we see your stuff on Dribble, on Instagram. Like, we love it. We'd love you to, put some artwork up on our platform. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, how does the print on demand work? They're like, actually, we don't do printing. And I was like, what do you mean you don't do printing? Like, what's the point then? They're like, people
Mhm.
just collect art. And I'm like, hold on. So people are just going to pay to collect digital stuff? And they're like, yep, that's it. And I was like, well, okay, like, let me give this a try. So I remember like trying out MetaMask and trying to get money in there, and it's been like, this seems so weird, so like dodgy, like this little fox thing, and it's controlling my money, and like, where's the bank? Like, I don't know what's going on. But I tried it. I like trying new things. Um, and then yeah, that was it. And then I think that was in 2019.
Mhm.
And then a couple of years later, maybe 2021, yeah, I got some sales, and I was like, oh wow, like, that's crazy. Like, how much money is that? And it was a lot of money. I was like, oh wow, cool. I don't know who these people are, but this looks great. So I was like, cool, that's great. And then I saw some people on Instagram also making quite a lot of money. I think one of the people that I followed like made, I think, $80,000 through an auction, and I was like, I can make that, and I could do with $80,000. Like, and you don't seem like particularly famous. It's not like you're people who sold something for 69 million. Like, that's like a rare kind of a case. But like, I could fit somewhere in between like nothing and 69 million. Like, cool, let's give this a go. Um, and if all I'm doing is just, not putting stuff on Instagram, or putting stuff on Instagram and, whatever this Web3 thing was, like, let me give it a go. So that's what I did. I just gave it a go. Um, I decided to do a 100-day project where I would create a piece of artwork for 100 days and put it on the blockchain. Like, whatever that meant, like, I would be learning about this for 100 days. And at the very least, what I would be doing is just helping other people understand what this is, and then teaching them. So that's what I did. And at the start of 2022, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to teach anything this year. I feel like I've kind of reached the limit of all the stuff that, like, how would I say it? Like, I'm no longer an expert in something specific. So I feel like kind of a bit weird teaching. Like, I'm really good at teaching stuff now. I love it. But yeah, to teach something like NFTs or something, I'm not an expert. So I can't teach that out of a place of, what's the word? Like, authority. Even
Yeah.
like web stuff, I love web stuff, but I can't really say like, this is what's happening in the web scene right now, because I haven't been doing it for clients, haven't been, making stuff for other people. Like, sure, I make my own website. So I was like, cool, I'm going to try make money using my imagination, and I want to be authentic. Like, what does that look like? And that image of me being an art little kid at his art table with my little Rorschach and drawing, like, that was what came to mind. Like, the little kid that thought anything was possible, that just wanted to draw and later on like drew castles and knights and all kinds of fairy tale creatures and stuff like that. Like I wanted to get back to that. So all of those things like kind of coincide,
Mhm.
and yeah, I get into Web3, and it was a very like rocky journey or rocky start. I was like, I have no idea what's going on, all these weird words, like I'm just like basically felt like I was a drop in the ocean. There was so many artists doing so many cool things, and I just couldn't like grasp onto anything. And eventually I found a really cool Discord server with a small bunch of artists and collectors, and
Mhm.
that helped me find my footing. And then yeah, I started creating more and more art. I started appearing on spaces, um, and yeah, eventually I got to speak at conferences. I got to do murals, like in real life murals. I got to do clothing, and our sponsor Remix is like a really good kind of like endpoint or like combination of everything that I've done. It's like I
Yeah,
get to do NFT, digital art, plus you can do a print like if you want, and there's a hoodie there. So it's just like, yeah, like I love it when people wear my stuff. I love it when there's something on the wall that people can walk past. And so yeah, for me it was just not even like getting into like what Web3 is and the philosophy and the ethos of Web3 and cryptocurrency and blockchain. Like just as an artist, it's been this vehicle for producing so much art, for
that,
creating so much. And
yeah.
I love that aspect of it.
There's a lot in the Web3 space, many fields, and I also want to like check up on how you're creating art, what your process is like. What I did right now was I have the sketch, and then on another layer, I did line art. I used the dry ink brush. It's a great brush if you want to have like texture, so that's what I love.
Yep.
And also, there's this like method I use sometimes for coloring. It might look like I'm just like dragging and dropping, but the coloring is actually on another layer. How I did that was, if you go to line art, you go to reference, and then you click reference. Now on another layer you can color it. So it might not make sense if I'm just like explaining, but if anyone out there is like a Procreate artist, this is a great tip. um so yeah, I have like this color palette here that I'm using, that I prepared before the live. And yeah, I wanted to create the color palette that would like also like blend with your artworks as well. So yeah, so how's your creative process like? Do you usually start on paper, or do you just like head into Procreate? Oh, and also, what other mediums do you use?
Yeah, so many questions. And again, like you haven't really explained how you got into Web3, which I'd love to get into. And also, like it would help some people to know why you use the different layers,
Mhm.
the line work and the colors. I know for me, like when I do anything with an alpha lock or gradients, like to have that separated helps a lot. It also means that I can add multiple layers to multiple, layers of colors of gradients when I separate the line work. And it also means I can separate the process. So right now I'm just working on my line work.
Mhm.
And I always use different layers unless I'm doing something super quick and super simple. But anything that has a gradient, I'm like, cool, let's put into different layers. Because at some other stage, I might be like, oh, I actually want to add something else over here, let's say. And then I'm like, oh, now I need to like erase lines, colors, a whole bunch of stuff, and then
Yeah.
regradient it. It gets really complicated. And it's something I battle with in the real world because I can't just like double tap on my screen and undo. I can't have multiple layers. So I'm just like, how do I get my style into the real world? So my style in the real world is a lot simpler. It's like something like this on the background or this backdrop.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm exploring ways to bring in more gradients, like with airbrushes, spray paint, things like that. So yeah, I would say like the other mediums are acrylic paint, whether that's spray paints with paintbrushes or like Posca markers or Molotov markers. They call them stifts in the Netherlands. So like sometimes I'm like, I don't really know the English word for this, but yeah. Again, just this like thick outline. Uh, that's kind of my style, especially in real life. And then I also have this like abstract style, which I may introduce here if there's time. And sometimes I blend them. abstract and very like intentional kind of doodle. But yeah, I would say abstract doodle is my other kind of style.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. If anyone wants to know like the app I'm using, um, this is what it looks like. Oh, I have your artwork there, but this is the, you know, what the app looks like, Procreate. So it's an amazing tool for anyone who's interested in digital art or want to know. It can be for beginners or professionals. So yeah, that's what I love about this tool as well. And about collaborations, I know you collaborated with like Adobe and Ava Labs, so much more. I wanted to know, how have collaborations impacted your career, and what can you like share about your collaborations?
I think for me, collaborations are primarily fun.
Hmm.
Um, you get to meet people, you get to see how they work. If it's a brand, it's I don't know, it like raises the stakes somewhat. It's not just like, hey, I'm this guy creating in my bedroom. It's like, hey, there's this window on a main street that I'm drawing on or have designed something to stick on it. Or hey, I've done a mural at a big conference in a major city in the world. Um, yeah, it like raises your profile, it gives you confidence, and it enables you to go to another brand or to speak to somebody else and say, hey, like this is what I've done in my past. It's like a very quick CV. Like you can say, hey, like my artwork was on a New York billboard in Times Square, and people are like, oh cool, I'm listening now, like what do you have to say? Whereas if you're like, oh yeah, I'm just a teen artist who draws in her bedroom, it's like, well, cool. There's a lot of those, I imagine. Like, I don't know. But the fact that you've got something that hooks people, like, that does a lot. And then I've also collaborated with a lot of artists. And sometimes they're like a lot more famous than I am, or well known or established. Sometimes they're very unestablished kind of artists. And just to experience an artwork together is a lot of fun. It's like, cool, like let's blend these two styles. How does that work? To see how people organize the non-art stuff. So like, how are you doing your planning? Like, how do you create your topics? How do you do that kind of stuff? Like, very interesting. So like for me, I can be like, well, cool, I've got this sketchbook that I use sometimes. So sometimes I'll spend like days just sketching a whole bunch of different stuff. Like a specific theme or something. You probably
Oh,
can't see it.
yeah, I have a sketchbook too. I love drawing it. So I have like a lot of like, multimedia, I guess, markers and color pencils. I also love, sticking different paper in it, also just to create fun things.
Oh,
Uh,
that's cool.
yeah, so even though I'm a digital artist, I also like doing it on like, um, you know, traditional art as well. So yeah. And also about brand collabs. I feel like with brand collabs, you're able to explore um, or like see your art on like many different like types of things. Like I collaborated with Coin Coffee. This is the first time
Yeah.
I have my art on coffee, and I'm so excited about it. It looks so cool. So yeah.
It just, you know what, like, yeah, I guess I'm still like trying to formulate like the best way to explain this, but like brands are awesome. They offer awesome stuff. Artists are awesome because they give you ways to imagine the world. They speak to your feelings. They make you feel things that you didn't know you felt. Like some people will say of my work, like it makes me feel like a kid. It makes me feel like I am my little kid self doodling in my bedroom. And I'm like, that's amazing because it helps people connect to their dreams. But like, I can have like an NFT, which is great.
Mhm.
I can have like a billboard in New York, which is great. But when you start putting it on T-shirts and coffee cups, like then it becomes this really interesting vehicle for distribution. You start impacting way more people. They get to see your art. They get to be affected by what you've done. Sometimes it's like these beautiful installations with massive projectors and it's, ceiling to floor kind of stuff. Sometimes it's like a really cool exhibition that you've put on. Like the more things that you put your artwork on, the more people you reach because they're in different situations. Some people don't care about art, but they're like, oh, I love this piece of art on my coffee cup. Like they would never go to a gallery. They're not into NFTs, but they still appreciate and they're moved by art that is on a coffee cup or on their beans. So I think
Mhm.
that's a really cool move as an artist and as a brand, you know?
Yeah. I feel like, more people that are even not in art are able to explore your art, so it gives like like much like bigger audience. Like, whether it's like if you're into coffee or if you're like into puzzle pieces. Like I got my art on puzzle pieces as well. And collaborating with Hug, and that was really cool. And I feel like that would also, be cool for kids as well to explore more artworks. And yeah, and also
Oh,
into.
wait, hold on. You just said like kids doing stuff.
Mhm.
Like level with me now. Like your friends, do they look at you and be like, "Oh my days, like your art is just amazing. I wish I could draw like you. I'm so jealous." Like what does that look like? Like, is this generation like all like on iPads drawing cool stuff, or are you like an outlier doing cool stuff and everyone's like, "Wow."
I feel like in school there's like many different groups. Like
Yeah.
uh you might, sometimes you might not think there are like other people that, create art like you, but then you find this like amazing like little group of artists with like sketchbooks and iPads. And it's really cool because you're able to explore like their styles as well. Like, oh, I wish I could draw that, or oh, can you teach me how to draw that? You know, I feel like you're learning from each other as well. So yeah. Um Also,
Because
I'm joining.
sorry,
I'm
for me that's really interesting because I had friends who would look at my stuff and they were like, "Yeah, I can't draw," and I'm like, "But you're 16, like." There's still so much time left to like figure out how to draw stuff, you
Yeah.
know? And like he was looking at my stuff and like, yeah, your scrumpled piece of paper or your bird's nest or your skull looks so good. I'm like, I don't like this stuff. Like I'm never gonna put it up anywhere. Like this kind of stuff I want to do more of. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure this guy could have done my style of like doodle artwork as well. Like I feel like anyone can create. And so I'm wondering, like, are kids like at age 17 or 14, like, do they believe they're just not creative and not artistic, so they just give it up? Like, I'm so out of touch with teenagers. I've got a 3-year-old and she's definitely the antithesis of that. She's like, I want to create everything. I want to be on your iPad. I want to do typing with you, Dad. I want to be, painting and chalking and everything. So like, what changes, or does it change? Like, I don't know, what's it like?
I feel like, a lot more kids are like, doing what they're interested in as well. Exploring more like creative stuff like art, and maybe like design or something. Um and yeah, there's also like a lot of like new technologies that are coming that, more kids in my school are also learning about. There's some like conflicting opinions about NFTs or, AI and stuff, but I feel like it's
Oh,
really cool. um it just depends how you look on it, honestly. AI, it might like, it might be like a challenge for artists, or it might like enhance our skills. So what do you think about that topic about artificial intelligence? I
I
know
love it.
you
I
feel
love
different.
it. I absolutely love artificial intelligence, and I love how would I explain it? Like the how threatening it is to some people.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like my brother-in-law is a graphic designer, and if
Hmm.
you watch this, bro, like I love you with all my heart, but the the kind of conversations that we have, it's very much like I love AI. I don't feel threatened by it at all. Like the other day, I designed a client's logo with AI and then finished it up in Illustrator like within an hour. It was amazing. He was super pumped. I gave him so many options to look at and he loved it, you know? And I can appreciate that as a graphic designer, you're like, you just stole my job. Like, or as an artist who does a lot of conceptual art, like, yeah, like that would take me like a week and you just snapped your fingers and it's there, you know? And so
Hmm.
I get that.
Yeah,
But
I feel like artists can use it for, what they're not like. I mean, I use like a lot. I know about like a lot of like AI tools because like, my dad has also introduced me to them. I, saw him exploring on Luma AI,
yeah,
where they create like videos, and I think that's super cool. The thing is, like, when you're an artist, it's amazing because you can like have your own identity when it comes to art. Like, I've never like seen artworks that are like yours, so doodly and like, very textured. It's amazing. So some things AI cannot exactly like replicate, but you really use AI for, about maybe like content creating, like how to structure a video. So sometimes do use chat gpt to structure like a video, like how can I say this in the order. So yeah, and also like mid journey, I use references like photo references, and I also use like AI references when it comes to art.
Yeah.
Because really, if it's like, you get like a reference like kind of on the spot, um it's also like it challenges you to be more creative as well, how you can stand out. So that's one aspect I like about generative art. I mean, like AI art and AI in general. So yeah, with at the advancements in web3 AI, I feel like it can really influence like the future in digital art and creativity. So yeah, and also about your artworks, I really love how your artwork is coming out. You've definitely incorporated the sun. I saw your collection about the happy suns, and I really love that, those artworks. It's like, there's like different aspects about your artworks. There's more intricate, like the Limina one, or there's more
Yeah.
abstract. There's more like, simple doodly, and it's amazing. You have kind of your own characters with birds and everything. And I'm interested to know, like, what's your favorite artwork or your favorite collection you've done?
Um, one of my favorites is called For Love, and it was a 10-piece story series that I created when AI was starting to shake the art world. And
Mhm.
it's a story of these bots who leave their home because it's packed, and they find this new realm, and it's very innocent, and they're like, cool, we'll come here. And so they arrive there, but as they're traveling through hyperspace, they bring along this like element called the shadow, which is just like death and destruction and that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
so they start building in this new realm, and what they end up building is pretty scary. It's this like death machine. And as that begins to happen, all of these hearts and flaming warriors begin to die, and there's death and this destruction. But the bots who were building like didn't realize this. They were just building. They were just making stuff. Um, and so they realize that, oh, this is not great. So then they go looking for help throughout the other realms and in the universe, and they bring back these flaming warriors, and together they vanquish the shadow. Um, and I've never created something story based like that. It's not quite a storybook, and in the Doodleverse, I kind of just treated every piece like a dream. So they could be elements that were repeating or reoccurring. There could be new things. Things could change color. So I had to like stick to the storyline, incorporate the same kind of characters, and incorporate the same kind of things going on, the elements. So yeah, that is one of my favorite collections. It took a long time to create. It was a creative challenge. Every single time I create a new collection, I'm trying something different, whether it's a different blockchain, different method of creating, different size, like whatever. But this one was very interesting, very challenging because of that like restraints of having 10 pieces and a story to create within. And I did all of the writing myself. And yeah, I was like, yeah, cool. It gives a little bit more context to the art that I create. It's not just pretty pictures. It's like, okay, this doodleverse exists somewhere. There are different realms, there are different dreams, there are different things happening. There's bad guys, there's good guys, there's realms that haven't been explored yet. So yeah, whatever I try to like bring in some kind of context, like where does this fit in? And so
Mhm.
yeah, this really helped me with that. And there's one particular piece, can't remember what it is, but or what it was called, but it's this big heart with many eyes and a beak. And it just, I think, could be called like the Juggernaut or the Devourer or something like that. But yeah, maybe I can find it quickly here. Um,
Yeah, that would be cool. And anyone who wants to see his artworks, which are amazing, he has his website right there, richarmstrong.net. Um, and I really love your storytelling aspect. Watching your video about the Lumina, that was like, oh my god, it feels like a trailer for a movie or something. Like, it's so cool.
Yeah,
How do
like
you how do you get the inspiration to create these stories? Oh, that is super cool. I think I've seen that one. Yeah.
yeah. Probably bad website design, but can't really see it all at the same time. But yeah, this is my favorite piece, like of all time. It just looks like super badass, like this flaming heart with lots of eyes, and it's just like devouring the shadow. It's like love conquers, like love wins. We're gonna do this. Yeah, that's my favorite. How about you? Do you have a favorite?
Oh, I would say I do. There's these two artworks that I created. There's my website as well, avaramona.art. It's about these two characters, which you can see. So yeah, I really love creating these characters. And about my favorite artwork, it's called Ava Ramona's World, and it's on layer base. Um,
Cool.
I'll have to find it, but yeah. All right, so. Oh, can I see what you're doing right now? The artwork? Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Oh, 1 second. All right. Oh, that looks really cool. I like how you added the texture. That's really coming out.
Yeah, texture is the best. I
Yeah.
love texture. I think what I really like is bringing texture and like real world creation stuff into
Hmm.
the digital realm, like Play-Doh and texture and misalignment and like anything that's analog or has some kind of a process, like trying to replicate that. Like I love doing it in real life, like screen printing, great. Like risograph printing, great. Spray painting, great. Like you get you get sweaty and dirty and painty and it just feels so good. But then you're like, well, I'm going to train. Like, how do I do that? No, like I still want to try things out or experiment. I want to, undo and redo, like, so that if you can replicate that, it just brings a lot more versatility into your tool belt. So yeah, I love creating texture in my art.
That's awesome. And I just found my favorite artwork. It's the artwork I did for Coin Coffee called Ava Ramona's Atelier. Uh,
That's beautiful, man.
I
I
don't
love
think
it.
I can zoom in, but yeah, it's about these two characters and their studio. I wanted to imagine what their studio was like, and it was really cool to see that like physical version as well. Um, so yeah, so
That's
I have
super
like
cool,
artworks here.
man. I wanted to go back to AI because sometimes when I'm with my family, like they're like, "Oh, can we not talk about AI?" And I'm like, "Oh, but there's so many cool things to talk about AI about." Like when it comes to school and kids, like what is your school doing to teach AI, or what is this like policies around AI? And like, is anybody else, are any other kids using it?
I'm not sure if there's any like kids using AI. Probably, yeah. But in school, they don't really teach AI. They just say like, don't plagiarize and use AI. That's what I heard. But my computer science teacher did talk briefly about AI, and she's actually like interested in it. In
Yeah.
the beginning of the year, um, we kind of explored like the different things in coding, and one of them was NFTs, which is pretty cool that she was talking about that too. Like it was pretty
Hmm.
brief, but yeah, I feel like if more schools like introduce these new technologies, it would be really cool as well.
I mean, like, yeah, so like I obviously like grew up without like an iPhone, with almost like without the internet.
Mhm.
Like I remember being introduced to the internet to me like, okay, I can like search for anything, but like what do I want to search for? Like I don't know what to search for. Like this is weird, you know?
Yeah.
Um like yeah, I have no idea what it would be like to grow up like with TikTok and YouTube and Instagram and blockchain and Web3 and AI. Like, do you ever feel like overwhelmed just with the sheer amounts of like content and new technology coming out? Or it's just like, oh, yeah, this is life, totally cool. Like, what does it feel like?
I wouldn't say I'm really overwhelmed. I'm still learning more about AI and new technologies because I'm more on the creative side, less technical, but I'm actually pretty interested to learn more about it.
I love it.
And really like, look at the positive, the good side about, Web3, AI, and NFTs. And I feel like that's also how I explored more about NFTs, what they were, and started creating more artworks in that space as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm always just exploring, the different fields and, going out of my comfort zone. And also like in Procreate, I love, exploring different brushes as well. Like, I'm like exploring different brushes right now. I haven't used this brush. One second. Uh, okay, yeah. So there's this brush called Gloaming, and this is actually the first time I used it, but I really love it. So I'm really always trying to look for different ways I can create art, if I can add more texture, or maybe I can make it 3D, or like more simplified. So yeah, this is like kind of my more like more simpler style, because I have like the line art, and in some artworks like A Ramona's Atelier, I like drawing without line art. So
Yeah.
yeah, and also like I just got this new iPad Pro, and it's super cool, the new features that are in it, especially with Procreate. I think I can show you guys some new like features in here.
Well,
Uh,
like, yeah. So one, I'm very impressed that you're like trying new brush live on a stream and also using a new iPad live on a stream. Because I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna do this. Oh, and it doesn't work because I haven't set it up. And the last time I set it up was 3 years ago when I got my other iPad. And where's my favorite brushes? Or did you just like replicate your whole iPad and it's exactly the same thing?
uh, I mean, yeah, I guess so. I just like imported everything that I had on my old iPad into this iPad. Also,
Clever,
there's
clever.
Yeah, I got this yesterday evening as well, so that was like pretty quick. I was like, am I gonna have this for the live? Because that would be really cool if I could, explore more about this iPad. So thankfully, it came yesterday.
Yeah, I've seen some really interesting stuff, especially with the pencil and being able to like roll your pencil. Like, there's some really cool stuff. Like, I love it, but I'm like a little bit old school. Like, I just use stuff until it's broken. But the stuff that I've seen, I'm like, whew, like that would be cool.
Yeah, there's this like new brush. I don't know if I should probably get a darker color. So if you can see that, that's my brush
Yeah,
hovering on the iPad, and this brush you can really control, like, you know, with your pencil, I guess, by rotating your pencil, which is pretty cool.
yeah. I mean, one of the features that I got really frustrated at, but I love now, is when you like double tap your pencil, like tap tap or tap tap, like it switches between the tools. So if I go tap tap, maybe you can see here, it switches to the eraser, and then back it goes to the brush,
Mhm.
um, like up up and up like that. So I'd be drawing, and all of a sudden I'd be like erasing and be like, why? I have this new iPad, like it's so frustrating. And then
Yeah,
I realized what it was, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So like
yeah,
I
it's
think I'm
like
finally getting used to it now.
yeah, like first when you're exploring like different tools, especially in like digital art, uh, it can get pretty frustrating in like the beginning. Like when I first started drawing on Procreate, it was so like it was like an alien to me, but now I really love it. So what I love to do is create like short tutorials about, Procreate on my Instagram.
Yeah.
Where I'm like talking about, the features that it has, how to create, simple things in it for people more interested in digital art. And I know you do a lot of courses about digital art and animation and design. Um, I would love if you would like share like what your favorite like courses or like anything that people can learn from you.
It's like, what can't you learn from me? You
Yeah.
can't learn 3D stuff from me, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, I gave up on that after I made my really cool donut, and I was like, yeah, that's cool, but whew, it's going to take me another 2 years to get to a level where I'm like acing it. So maybe in the future, maybe if AI, increases at a rate that I can be like, cool, let's get into 3D hey AI, please just make this. Here's my direction. Maybe. But yeah, the first course that I ever made was how to make your first website with HTML and CSS. So
Mhm.
many people stood behind me and were like, yeah, you're just doing like matrix stuff. And I'm like, no, it's actually really easy. Like, here's like a heading. This is a paragraph. This is a link. They're like, oh, yeah, I can understand that. I'm like, yeah, you can. So that was my first course, and it's still one of my most popular courses.
Mhm.
And seriously, if you've never made a website and you're like, oh, it's so hard, or I have to use these no-code editors, you're like, seriously, you don't. I have a friend who spent 3 days trying to make a very simple website in a no-code editor, getting so frustrated. I'm like, yeah, you should have just coded it yourself. Like, you could have learned how to code with my course in an afternoon and then built yourself a website. Like, you would have just been able to do everything by yourself. It's very empowering. So
Uh-huh.
that's like one of my ones that I would recommend. There's this process called digital marbling. I'll show you quickly like what it is here,
Yeah.
because it is fun.
One.
And if you're like I'm not an artist or whatever, like it is just the best because it's super relaxing. So you just put like a bunch of paint down or whatever. You go into your adjustments and then liquefy. My kid was doing this yesterday. It's just amazing. And then you
What
start
brush
like,
is
that was a custom brush. It's almost like I'll find the equivalent in Procreate. And then you just start like moving this stuff around. You do a bit of twirling, and you
that?
can create these like really, really cool like marbling things. Again, like this is something that people do in real life. Like I think it's called sumi nagashi, but yeah, definitely marbling. And when you print this, oof, it looks so good. So stuff like that, like you don't need to be a creative person or consider yourself a creative person to begin doing that. And even if you are a designer, creative architect, whatever, doing
Mhm.
this for like half an hour, it's like it's just like meditation for creative people. You don't have to like do a meditation. You're just drawing or like moving paint around on a canvas. So yeah, that would be my next class I would recommend. It's
Uh,
called digital marbling. Um, and then yeah, I have an animation one, Procreate Animation and Procreate Dreams, which
mhm.
teaches animation and Procreate Dreams. And when you get animating, seriously, like that's a whole nother rabbit hole. Like you can get sucked in deep into that because
Exactly.
it's so fun. There's storytelling, there's sound effects, there's like magic that you get to make. It's basically like being like a wizard, like a magician. It is amazing. So yeah, I would say that those are the ones that I would recommend. Like, go take those. And then if you're like, what should I do? Like, I feel like I want to be more creative. Go take my 100-day project class. It's much like my book. It's like 30 minutes, and then you'll be set for like 100 days to do a really rad, cool project, even if it's for 5 minutes a day. So yeah, that's
Awesome.
what I would recommend.
Everyone go check out his courses. I really love, seeing his videos. They're so fun and like, lively. And I'm also like exploring animation. I'm not like a pro or anything yet. I'm just a beginner. So I should, watch your like animation course, learn more about that because it's really interesting.
Oh, it's so fun.
Yeah.
Seriously, but it can take a long time, especially if you have like a very high aesthetic level. So, like,
Mhm.
if you watch a lot of animation, you're like, cool, I'm going to make an animation. And then you're like, okay, it took me a week. Okay, cool. How long is your animation? It's 2 seconds. you know, it's like,
That has happened.
wow. Like, how long does it take you to do an illustration? Like, cool, an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours. How long does it take you to make an animation? Like, forever, especially a really cool one. So sometimes I'm like, I'm not going to do animation because it takes too long, but I
Mhm.
love it. Animation especially on an iPad now, it's really easy. But then when
Yeah.
you bring that into After Effects, oof, man, it's so fun, so fun. And I won some awards when I was in university for my animations. Absolutely loved it. Took like, I don't know, 30 or 40 hours to render one of these animations that was 2 minutes long. Oof. I remember like driving to school with the laptop in the boots of my car, being like, I'm late, but I've been rendering this thing from last night, so just cut me some slack here, you know.
Yeah, you have to be really patient when it comes to animating. So yeah.
So right now, what I'm doing is doing a little bit of what I call the cosmic realm or the
Mhm.
fourth dimension, which is I try to include it in most of my pieces. And it'll be interesting, like how you end up, finishing this all off. Um, and it's basically this like realm that interconnects or connects all the different realms in the Doodleverse.
Yeah,
Um,
that's cool. I see many of your like elements in many works, like the birds, the sun, your cosmic universe. But then again, every artwork is pretty like different as well. Like in the Liminal one, it's so interesting. It's really detailed, and then each work is like different as well, like going into a different realm, which I think is really cool.
You know what the base of all of this is that I'm ADHD, which I try not to let it define me, but I find it very hard to do big things. And when you're an illustrator and you're trying to stick to a style and you're like, well, cool, like I drew this happy sun, now I need to always draw the happy sun this way, and I drew the bird this way, so I always need to draw it this way. You're like, I'm not going to draw anything because this is just too overwhelming. So I was just like, well, it's a dream, so I can draw it however I want in any single piece. And I was like, cool, there we go. I just like created my context, created my like structure for creating in the future. And it works so well. I feel so free to like keep stuff that I want to keep the same, to explore things that look a little bit different. It's just like it's freeing. So if anybody wants to borrow that and treat an illustration like a dream, go for it. I give you full permission.
That's pretty cool. And also, maybe you can share your Procreate file in Dropbox, and I could see how it like merges together like right now as well. Because what we're doing is we're merging these two artworks, and we're gonna drop that on Remix as well. So
Okay, let's do it. I just want to add a few more details and then I will send it over. It will not take long.
or actually, I could send this one to you because it's almost finished. So I could send this one to you, and then you could add it there.
Right, cool.
Oh, also, we're going to like almost the end of the stream. So I think this is a good question to ask you. What's your advice to aspiring artists and designers?
Like do a 100-day project straight up. But where that stems from is practicing every single day. Like if you want to get really good, you need 10,000 hours at whatever. So if
Mhm.
you're drawing and you're like, I want to be an amazing illustrator, like you need to be illustrating every single day. Like even if it's for 5 or 10 minutes. And if you're like, I don't know what to draw, it's like, well, use ChatGPT. Be like, hey, give me some stuff to draw, and I'll give you some stuff to draw. I created an app in the past that did this. I've got stuff on my website that will give you stuff to draw, like creative exercise or whatever. So if you need that, like do that. If you want to design and get better at designing, like design stuff every single day, like websites, apps, man, even like what would you say, like a customer checkout experience at a supermarket, like go into service design, like just design stuff, like do stuff for an Apple Watch, do stuff for an Apple Vision Pro thing, whatever it's called. Like just design, like do more stuff. Like don't read so much, don't watch so much YouTube videos, like just do. And as you do more, like sure, then you can learn stuff and be like, oh, now I know where to apply that. If you're drawing, you're like, oh, let me experiment with this. Let me reach out to that brand. Like you have stuff to show. You can't be like, I'm an artist. And like, cool. Like, what have you done? Well, I thought about doing this really cool mural. It's like, that doesn't count. Like you can say, I did this really cool mural. This is the one in my studio. This is what I want to do on your window. They're like, cool, let's do that. And after doing this, I'm like, cool, I'm not going to do it with that kind of marker because then the paper gets all weird. So just like practice, practice, practice. And I
Exactly.
found this really interesting thing about loving the game. If you don't love the game that you're in, you're probably not going to succeed. Famous, successful swimmers love swimming for like 6-7 hours a day. And if you're like, I can't do that, it's like, yeah, well, that's why he is a successful swimmer. because he swims for 6 hours a day. So if you don't love doing boring drawings or, daily creative exercises,
Mhm.
maybe you won't be successful. But if you do, good sign.
Yeah. Yeah, practice definitely makes progress, and especially like exploring like everything that you can do in art or whatever you do is like, the best thing as well to grow as an artist as well. And I'm interested to know what your, future collaborations are. Do you have any like, I mean, like future projects are, or like your future goals?
Oh man. So yeah, I don't know if I mentioned before stream or after or during the stream about this like existential crisis of, like what I should be doing and whatever. So like I teach a whole bunch of classes.
Mhm.
Um I love the idea of seeing people's eyes light up and their beings like come alive because they create, whether they're designing or doing something quite artistically, or if they're like, I just love doing yoga and I just want to do more yoga, or I want to run my own business or be a coach or whatever. When they make that decision to do what they love doing more and to do it better and to like prioritize that, like it lights up my eyes, it lights up my soul. And so I've realized like I want to do that more. So that's what I'm going to be doing more. I'm going to transform Tap Tap Kaboom, which was like my old name, my old moniker, whatever you call it, um, into that, into basically like interviewing people, helping people, coaching people, helping them perform creatively better, helping them go from whatever they're doing into whatever they love to do more, even if it's for like 5 minutes a day. I would love to see people sketching or whatever it is, like not drinking or going vegan or planting their own garden, like whatever it is, like that's what I want to help people do. And for artists who are like, or creatives, they're like, how do I do this better? I'm like, cool, let me help you. Like productivity, creativity, like your mindset, like all the other things, like marketing. Like some people, a lot of artists are like, you know what? I love drawing and stuff, but I hate marketing. And I'm like, yeah, how's your bank account looking? And they're like, yeah, not good. So the fact that like you're comfortable on camera, like you can put together a reel, whole bunch of different things like this technology, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, like it's amazing. And so trying to help people figure that kind of stuff out, or all the other stuff that's not just their skill, that's what I want to help people do. So that, and then just explore more of the Doodleverse, get into creating on a daily basis again, connecting with collectors, other artists. So yeah, I always feel like my life is quite full, but that's kind of it.
Yeah. Thank you
How
for
about you?
sharing.
Like, if I had to ask you the same question, like, I'm probably like double your age or whatever. Like, where are you going?
I would
Like,
say I'm gonna keep creating art until like, the end of my life. But I love creating these two characters, Ave and Ramona, and I wanna see how I can, bring these characters into different mediums like 3D. So I want to learn more about like Blender, After Effects, and also about
yeah,
the education aspect. I'm really interested in how I can share, my what I do, like Procreate, digital art, traditional art, and also how to find inspiration. I really want to share that with like longer like tutorials on, maybe YouTube. Um, I also did my first solo exhibition last year, which was super fun, and I did my first art workshop. So in the future, I really want to focus on, that path through education and art, and really sharing my experiences with other artists, emerging artists. So yeah. Oh, and
I
also
love it.
it would
Love it.
be super cool if we can merge the two artworks. I sent
Oh yeah.
my artwork in Dropbox, so we could just see how it's going, how it comes
Whoa. It's like this one.
together.
Yeah.
Yes, that one. Yeah.
Da-da-da.
And I like how you added the cosmic universe. Maybe I can kind of do a gradient on my characters where it looks like they're coming out of the universe, that like, cosmic area. So that would be super cool.
Yeah.
So that's my sketch.
Doop, doop, doop.
So after the live, we're gonna touch up, our artworks, and I'm really excited to reveal this for everyone. So the artwork we created today, these two artworks, we're gonna merge them as one, and we're gonna drop it on our remix pages using the remix's new collect to earn feature. So it's something that you can claim. If you want to know more about it, it's in the description. So don't miss that out. Claim that artwork as soon as it drops on Wednesday, June 26th. Ooh, that looks cool. I think I might need to like make my characters a bit smaller, but I really love how it's going. I think the colors really match.
I think it's cool, man.
Yeah. This is
It's
what I love
super
about
cool.
collaborating with artists. Awesome. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I did this, like collaboration with Sabbath. So on my other art and chat, I did this where like this is what he drew and this is what I drew. So we merged it together, and that's how I got the idea to make this art and chat, creating artworks with other artists and then combining them. So yeah.
I think it's such a cool idea. The first time I heard you speak about it, I was like, oh, I want to do that. So seriously, I still might steal it. But I'll definitely like do a different spin. I imagine like meeting with a lawyer or someone or like an architect or whatever. Like, how do you collaborate with them? So to do something like this or to do some kind of creative exercise together, I think that would be pretty fun. And I'd also be very curious to see like who are the people who are capable of talking and drawing at the same time, because sometimes like it's so like intensive what you're doing. It's like, sorry, I can't talk right now. Or for me, I'm like, I can't draw right now, I'm talking. And
Yeah.
other times I'm just like, I don't know, it feels like I'm mumbling or something, but then it's a lot easier to talk.
Yeah. Thank
And
you
and
so
talk
much
to
for,
them.
sharing about your journey, about your art in this session. I had so much fun. If anyone wants to know more about Rich Armstrong, go to his website, richarmstrong.net, and, you can find my artworks on avramona.art. And if you want to know more about what Remix is, the platform we're talking about, you can see our Remix pages, which is in the description. So go check that out. Become a part of our community. And yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for joining in this live. And yeah, any final words, Rich?
Man, it just feels like we just got started. I feel like every conversation or little like topic that we discussed, I could, chat about it for like an hour.
Yeah,
Um,
it went
it's
by
been a
so.
privilege. Like I've really enjoyed this. It's been fantastic, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how you progress, what your journey is like. Like seriously, looking forward to it. It's not like, oh man, like I'm just saying this. Like just like your family, the people around you, like your intention, like how you're generous. It's amazing to see. So you're doing good.
Thank you so much.
And if
Thank
anybody, seriously, if anybody has any questions about any creative stuff, like let me know. DM me, whatever. Yeah. Or
Thanks.
if you want to chat to, oh man, Teresa. I was like, what's your name? Teresa. If you want to chat to Teresa, just DM her as well. Like she's super responsive, super generous with her time, with what she knows. So yeah, don't be shy.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for joining the live. It was an amazing session. So, bye-bye everybody.
Bye. Boop, boop, boop.
Dance break.
Yeah, always good to dance. Actually, that's something I learned the last couple of weeks. Like, if you're not really feeling energetic, you just gotta like